I literally went to war last year with a 2-week-old. I had to go back to work when he was 3 weeks old. And being postpartum with him and going through that was the hardest thing I have ever overcome by far. And I tell myself to this day, like, if I can live through and overcome that, like, I can literally handle anything in business. Like, business is the easy part. Like, having your family and raising your children is extremely hard, especially when you're as driven as we are.
Welcome back to Vaginally Speaking, the space where we talk all about things womanhood, body, and pleasure with honesty and zero shame. Today, I'm joined by Madison Hollimon, a powerhouse entrepreneur, wife, and mom who somehow makes running a business and running a household look effortless. But we're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to stay connected to your body and your joy through it all. We're diving into how ambition, motherhood, and sexuality can all coexist and how pleasure isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. So, welcome to the show, Madison.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Can you share a little bit about your journey and how you got into your business and just, your little elevator speech?
Yeah, of course. So I'm the eldest of 5 girls and grew up in an entrepreneurial household. My dad built an international brand and services, the uber wealthy of the world with his product. And I sat at the table with billionaires, celebrities, princes of countries. And from like a little girl, I knew that entrepreneurship was just going to be part of my journey. And I had several businesses through college. I started in blogging, and then I had a t-shirt business, and I sold t-shirts to schools and businesses to pay my way through college. And then I was like, I'm going to be a wedding planner. So then I was a wedding and events planner for 3 years. And I was like, I'm so tired for working every single weekend, Friday to Sunday, doing weddings. And once I graduated college, I went and worked for a very prestigious plastic surgeon and handled all of his marketing and fell in love with every aspect that it took through social and digital marketing. And after my tenure with him for 2 years, I stepped out on my own and the phone just started ringing and knew that I had walked into literally what I was meant to be doing. And that was being a digital marketing agency owner.
Amazing. So in college, you knew most likely you're going to go into owning a business, but did you think you would go into marketing?
So I went to school for marketing, so I knew I would obviously do something in marketing, and I was very creative. I didn't think I would be owning an agency of this caliber at such a young age. Part of the reason why I went and worked for somebody was I need to be a little bit older to be taken seriously because I am working with, at the time, a lot of older men. And I love working with older men, but they don't really take like a 22, 23-year-old blonde girl as serious. And so I was like, I need a little bit more experience. And then once I got that experience, I was like, well, now I'm 24 years old. I have a 3-year-old and like, I have to go figure out how to make some real money. I don't want to put my kid in daycare all day, every day. Like, I want to be able to have freedom to spend more time with her. And the only way I could do that was to going into business myself.
So how has been being a mom and building a business? How has that, what are the amazing things and what have been the hardest things?
I think it's been the biggest blessing because there was like no time for BS. It was like you have to sink or swim. You got to figure it out. You have kids to feed and a family to provide for. So I feel like it was my biggest blessing having Amelia at 20. I was 19 when I got pregnant with her, 20 when I had her. It really kind of shoved me on a fast track compared to somebody that goes to college and parties and then has a baby at 30. Like, I kind of have this 10-year head start that a lot of people didn't have because I became a mom at such a young age. So for me, it was like the best thing that could happen to me, even though in the period and in the time I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? And then now I feel like she's almost 10 years old and I'm at the cusp of turning 30. now I have a successful business and I have means to travel and do and have the play and the pleasure. So it's like, I'd rather have that now at this point in my life than at a young age when you're broken in school.
Right. No, I completely agree. So you talked about the lovely parts of being a business owner and mom. What have been like the challenges, or, when have you always felt connected to who you are through the process or who you wanted to be? I mean, now it sounds like it's incredible. You get to see the joys of going through the struggles or the having the things happen when you were younger. And now you've been able to be like, now I can play and enjoy all of this. But show me a little insight in like some of the hardship, or like, did you ever feel like you lost yourself in the process? Because as a business owner and mom myself, I feel like I very much lost myself mostly in motherhood, and the business helped bring me out of that actually and to find joy. But can you give a little insight on that?
Yeah, it's been definitely a challenge. After I had her, we started trying when she was 3 or 4, and it took me 3 years to conceive our second daughter, Evelyn. I had 3 miscarriages between Amelia and Evie, and that was a lot, trying to get into starting a business and trying to conceive was really hard for me. I didn't think I'd be able to have another baby. And then once I had her, I was in my second year of owning the agency. It was a little traumatic for my team to have me step out with a newborn baby, and the team kind of fell apart at that point. Rebuilt it, had another miscarriage, then had Noah, and everything really turned upside down after I had him. Because, when you scale as fast as we have, I'm the driving force of that. I conduct 100% of our sales. I do all the strategy, and everybody thinks everything's going to be fine when the owner steps away. Has so much control and so much day to day. And when I stepped away, the business just fell apart. And like, I felt like the ship was sinking, and so many of my team members just jumped because they didn't think I was going to be able to bring the ship back to surface. And I literally went to war last year with a 2-week-old. I had to go back to work when he was 2, 3 weeks old. And being postpartum with him and going through that was the hardest thing I had ever overcome by far. And I tell myself to this day, like, if I can live through and overcome that, like, I can literally handle anything in business. Like, business is the easy part. Like, having your family and raising your children is extremely hard, especially when you're as driven as we are. Like, going to work and leaving my kids at home with a nanny and not seeing them for days, or being gone for 12 hours a day, is extreme mom guilt. But at the same time, like, if I was sitting at home with my children, I would go insane after a few days, because we're just built differently.
I have a couple directions I want to go with this, Madison. So the first one is, thanks for being vulnerable. There's a lot of trauma in what you just said in those 30 seconds of, having your daughter, your first daughter, having miscarriages while trying to run a business and conceive, getting pregnant with your second, having to go through owning a business as well, having another miscarriage, having Noah, going back to work at 2 weeks so that you don't feel like your business completely collapses, the empire you're built. I can only imagine like what your body is holding on to in there because of all of that. Because here's the thing that's a beautiful and a awful thing for really successful driven women is we like put all of that on the back burner, right? We're like, we can just power through. We're not even going to address all that stuff that I just went through, because right now I'm focused on this empire I'm building. I'm focused on being this mom. Like, I just feel like I could crack open a worm there. But the other thing that I want to talk about is, you just nailed it, of like, as we build these businesses and as they scale fast, which is amazing, is that people don't see all the work that's put behind it. And then when we need to step away, it's very easy to see how much we hold and how much we do. when we have to step away. If we, especially, I don't know about you, Madison, but the business that I've grown has grown so fast that I actually didn't have SOPs in place. I didn't have any kind of standard of process. So it was very clear to me when we grew fast, when things could start collapsing. So I'm rattling, but my brain just goes to a lot of different things for you. What do you feel like in those moments that you talk about? Like, how do you feel like you were being true to yourself? Or how do you feel like you were allowing yourself the pleasure of life? Or like, did you feel connected to your body? Did you feel like you were you? Because, you talked about the mom guilt and how, we have this guilt if we're away from our children. But I agree with you that if I stayed home with my children, I would not be okay at all. I love my children, but I would not be okay. And so I needed something outside of being a mother. I needed a purpose that helped drive me for myself. And so, did you ever feel lost in that? Did you feel connected to your body? Tell me,
So I felt lost up until probably 6 months ago. And I want to attribute a lot of it to like, I breastfed my babies for a year after I had them. So like when I was building up my business again, Noah would go everywhere with me. Like you can ask one of my friends, I went somewhere in January. It was 48 hours and I'm like pumping in the back room and like overnighting my milk home to him because I needed to be on the work trip. But like also I had to pump and like feed him. And it's like the things that you put yourself through. So then once you're finally out of that season and you realize, okay, like I have my beautiful family, I have my children, I feel fulfilled with my 3. Like that feels like a complete number for me. Your body finally goes back into like normalcy, like your hormones become balanced. I went and saw somebody, a client of mine, to go get a testosterone pellet because I was like zeroed out. And I was wondering why I was so tired, like brain fog, like all these things. So you finally start to feel normal again. And it's like, my mind is, the clouds have parted and like I can see again. And I'm feeling like, okay, but now who is Madison? Like Madison's been a servant to her children and growing this family and then building this business. Like, yes, the business is me and that's so much of me, but like, who am I outside of those things? And I would say like in the past 6 months is like been my opportunity to finally see that and feel unlike I've ever felt. And, being in a place where your children are a little bit more self-sufficient and your business is in a good place, you have the opportunity to play a little bit and have fun, and enjoy so much of the work that you've put in. And like finally being at that point in my life, I'm like, okay, well, I'm asking myself the question, like, who am I and what do I want?
What do you want?
That's a great question. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm scared to answer that.
Yeah. I mean, like, what would you say some of your guilty pleasures are? Like I was just thinking about this because I had a meeting this morning, and then before I got on here with you, I tried to run really fast to get my nails done because that's a little guilty pleasure that helps me feel like I've got my shit together. I do not have my shit together, but it like helps me feel like I do. So I snuck off real fast in my day, get my nails done, come back and keep working. And I'm like, you know what? That's something that like truly brings me pleasure and like helps me feel turned on to life and in general, right? Because, there's obviously we'll probably at some point go into it of like turned on sexually, but like turned on to life, we have to look at all these different pleasures like you're talking about, like who is Madison? Who is this? Like now we get to play and do the things we want. So, tell me, do you have like 3 guilty pleasures that you really enjoy? Is it like a Diet Coke, or is it, going and getting a massage every other week, or what's something you do for you that you feel like
I love to get a blowout. I have a blowout membership, and in like having my hair washed and like styled once a week is like the best thing I can do, because usually I time it up. I travel a lot. I'm probably on an airplane every other week. And I'd probably say that's another guilty pleasure is for so many years I traveled with my kids, and I was like that mom on the airplane that was like sweating profusely because my kids are like screaming or like got Play-Doh everywhere in the carpet and like the snacks. And like I got on a first class flight. This is like
Oh,
a sidebar. I got on a first class flight in August, like Labor Day weekend. And I had first class tickets for all of my children. Okay. 6 a.m. flight. The guy sitting in front of me looks back at me because Noah and Evie are walking back and forth. They're sharing a seat. And he's like, they're kicking my seat. I'm like, they're not kicking your seat. They're like just standing up playing. He looked at me. He's like, you need to be a better mom. And I'm sitting here
stop
thinking,
it.
I'm the only woman sitting here in first class, okay, with all of my children in their own seat. And this guy's probably looking at me thinking, her husband just put her on this flight to bring her down here. And he doesn't realize that, like, I'm an entrepreneur and a businesswoman that purchased all of these tickets to have my children sit up front with me. Like, go charter a jet.
You did that.
You're going to complain at me. Yeah. I have every right to sit here. So I would say, going back to my guilty pleasure, the blowout, being able to travel by myself is like, I love that. And then champagne, a good glass of Veuve Clicquot.
A good glass of fizz. Okay. I love those guilty pleasures. The blowout, when we look good, we feel good, we do good, right? That's what I grew up. My mom would always say, look good, feel good, do good. And I think it's so true when we like feel in our body, like the confidence that really like fuels the internal confidence. I've never had a blowout, so I'm gonna have to do that sometime. Traveling by yourself. Yes. I used to be like in college, the person that like needed somebody to literally go to the bathroom with me or somewhere in the store. Like I always wanted that person by me. And now being a mom and probably also like needed in the office all the time, it's like amazing to go travel and like nobody needs me.
Airplane mode, nobody can get in touch with you.
Nobody can get in touch with me. I will tell you recently, my guilty pleasure on an airplane has been listening to smut books, which is kind of funny. And this last time that I listened to a smut book on the airplane, I was like,
you need to send me
this
some.
person. I will. This last one I read, it was called Forget Your Morals. It was spicy. And I was on the airplane and seriously, I was by this gentleman and I was like, can he hear this? Because if he can hear this, like he's going to be like
turning the volume down.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, thank God it's not a child by me. That's my guilty pleasure. That I love that. And then the good glass of champagne. I did not appreciate champagne until I met Dawn, a common friend of ours, colleague of ours. And I have just like, yep, I am all about the fizz. It just feels good. You just feel like, yeah.
She introduced me to that brand. And I'm telling you, anywhere I go now, I'll ask, okay, what champagne do you have? And if they don't have that or Tattinger, like, I'm like, okay, I'm out.
Tap me out. You either got to run to the store or I'm not drinking I'm not drinking your champagne. You don't have my taste. Thank you. Also, the gentleman on the airplane, Madison, I wish that I would have been on that airplane. I would have had so many words for him. Was he young? Was he old? Like how?
He was like an older guy. I was waiting on him to turn back around to me, or that flight attendant to walk back on, because I was ready to like give him it. I was so shocked because I have flown probably 100 times this year, and I've only taken my children a couple of times, but I was so shocked that I'm sitting in first class. And it's not like I'm just like have all my kids sitting on me. Like they're all sitting in their own seats. And it's like
I paid for all of those.
And the fact that he looks back at me because you need to be a better mother, I was like, I'm going to bite my tongue right now and be a really sweet Southern girl because I really want to kill you.
That's where I would have debated, like, kill him with kindness or ask him if he's ever been a mother. Because I want to know what he means by that. Like, can you please elaborate what you mean by be a better mother? Because I don't know if you know this, but I bought these tickets and I run a kick-ass business and I have 3 children on this plane with me solo by myself in first class. I'm not quite sure what you want me to be, a better mother, or you need to quit being an asshole. That's probably what I would have said. But wow. So do you think that you would have always been able to like have that confidence of had you said that stuff? I know you bit your tongue and you were a nice Southern girl, but like, do you feel like you would have always had that confidence? Or do you feel like owning a business and being a mother was like, now I know? Because like, here's the thing, you talked about like finding Madison, and I talk about that once I became a mother and owned a business, I was kind of like, I don't have time for you anymore. Like I know who I am, and I know what I can bring, and this is me, and I don't need your opinion. And so I feel like now I can say those blunt things and have confidence behind it. Like, do you agree, or do you feel like you kind of always would have been able to have that sharp tone?
Being a mom and owning a business, we have no time for any BS. And I had somebody recently tell me, they were like, you just like, you don't hold back. You literally just tell people, and I'm polite, but you know exactly what you want and you tell people what you want. Like, it's that simple. It's black and white, we don't have time for anything else. So I think if anything, being a mom and owning a business, not only do you have, the confidence, that it takes to be a mom and that place, but once you're also a business owner that has a successful company and you've kind of reached your goals financially, like, really doesn't matter what anybody tells you,
Right.
because you've done it all, you've earned your seat. So
Absolutely. So I want you to like think right now, Madison, of like the listener that might be a high achieving female like us and had maybe a mother as well. Like, what advice do you have to her of like feeling connected to herself or finding out who she is? You talked about these things that are like these guilty pleasures physically, like getting my hair done, going on an airplane, drinking some fizz, but like, how do you feel connected with your body? Like, do you feel like at times there was this disconnection and still trying to come back to it? Do you feel like you've always been connected? I say that because I was very numb to my own body after having children. And it's why I have really started talking more about this sexual wellness and health space, is because I feel like as high achieving females, driven females, as being mothers, like we turn off that connection because it was meant to be this like this vessel to bring children into the world and then feed the children by our breasts. And then I feel like it was just kind of overstimulated, overwhelmed, going to do something else.
no, you're absolutely right. I would say you do go through that period of being numb because you're so deep in the trenches with being pregnant, having a baby, breastfeeding, like building your family. And then all of a sudden you wake up and at the same time, there's so much shame around sex for so long, especially in my life and even in my marriage, like, because I grew up in such a conservative Christian household where like sex was with your husband. That's the only person that you explored that with. If you had sex before that, you were going to get pregnant. And, I really lived by that and adapted that into my life. And even being married to my husband, yes, we had our daughter before we were married. He was the only person I had ever been with. And then getting married, I still carried shame around sex for years. Like years, I felt shameful when I was intimate with him. And it wasn't until I would say once I was done having my children and finally had weaned my last baby and my hormones started to like go back to normal levels that I was like, felt more confident and like felt like I could explore that more and enjoy pleasure, unlike I had ever the past 10 years of doing anything like that. So I think now this phase in my life, it's like really figuring out what brings me true happiness and makes me feel good and confident, behind closed doors.
Absolutely. So a couple questions. First question, as you felt more confident after your hormones started to regulate, after you felt like you kind of were out of the bringing children, feeding children, and you felt more confidence, how did your business start doing?
I've made more money than I had ever in my life.
Because orgasms are the new KPI, are they not?
I started doing that more frequently. I started to live by your daily teaching. I made more money.
Huh? Because when we like orgasms feel good, really, obviously, we want them to feel good, but they literally release the good chemicals. And when we have those good chemicals and that good high, we make better decisions. So, like, it's incredible, like, to stop and think about that. And like, we deserve that. We deserve that. I don't care where you're at as a female. If you own your own business, you don't, and you never want to, like, you deserve to have orgasms. And it will make a difference in your career life, your family life, your confidence in your own body. So high five to you, Madison, because I think that is incredible. And I love that you just admitted, like, yeah, my business did better as I had more sex. Or solo, whatever you want, whatever is your cup of tea, because, it doesn't have to be a partnership there. I will say, though, the other thing you mentioned is a common factor that happens with a lot of patients I see is being brought up in a very religious or conservative household, and it causing a lot of shame and challenges of how we connect with our body and how we see our body and how we understand intimacy and understand sex with our partner, and allowing us to like truly open up into that space. And it's been really, that's probably one of the most challenging things for people to start digging through is, what they were taught and what they still believe in, right? Because we don't want to like completely change somebody's thought process on religion, but then like working with them and what they believe in and how we can reconnect them with their body, because reconnecting is everything. So one of my favorite things to tell people, and I don't know if you've ever done this, and I'm going to be curious when I tell you what it is, what's going through your mind. But my biggest thing that I have started to tell patients or individuals that ask me, how can they have a better sex life or better orgasms? I tell them that the first thing that they can do is sit completely naked in front of a mirror and just look at their own body. And I get a lot of people who do a deep swallow, who just shake their head, yes, right? Or they're like, not going to happen, right? And my biggest thing is like, if you can't look at your own body and understand your own body, you don't even have to touch your body. But if you look at your whole body, and I'm talking about the vulva area as well, if you can't look at it and appreciate it, how are you supposed to connect with another person?
You're right. Well, and that's what's hard is like being so modest. Like I'm very modest just because of how I was raised.
Right.
And I would say since I've finished having my children and I feel better, like I will wear a lower cut top than I normally would. And, honestly, I probably could stand in front of a mirror and not mind, because I do feel confident and I am happy with how my body is, because in the past I've been like super skinny, like when I'm nursing, and I'm usually like I am skinny, but like I'm a healthy weight right now. Like this is me, like usually right after I have a baby weight. And that tells me that like I'm in a good place mentally and physically, that I feel good about the clothes that I wear. And I probably could stand in front of a mirror and not feel like self-conscious and feel content. A lot of that too, like I have a really great plastic surgeon, and I did get a breast aug after I had my second baby. So I do feel good about that. But at the same time, feeling confident is important.
It is. And it's important, and like, it's amazing. You talk about, you feel really great in your body and the size you are in your body and how your clothes fit. But what I tell people is like, and it's easier said than done, but we have to appreciate our body in every stage, right? Because again, if we can't appreciate it in every stage, how are we supposed to allow our partner, our spouse, a random hookup to appreciate our body if we don't, right? Mm-hmm. And how are we supposed to allow ourselves to have those orgasms if we don't even know? So going off a little bit off of that, a little spicier topic is, how are we supposed to know what feels good and what doesn't feel good if we don't know ourselves, right? And there is a lot of, again, you talk about the modesty and the upbringing and religion. There is, a thought behind all of that aspect when it comes to what's right and what's not. But my little sense real quick, and people may disagree when they're listening, is the clitoris is the only organ that was created by the big man upstairs for pleasure alone. No, there's no other organ in the
He
human
loves
body.
us.
So he loves us. He made women a little more special, and he said we deserve to have pleasure.
Mhm.
That's why you're the only one with an organ in your body that the only job is that, right? And I
Yeah.
feel like we've got to embrace that. Now, something big for me is that I had to relearn after having children what felt good and what didn't. So like
Yeah.
a thing I talk about is that I used to really love soft touch, like soft caresses. And after having children, I was like, nope, 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 nope. Like I need firm touch, deep touch is what I say to my husband, deep touch. And I had to discover that and then communicate that with my partner. Otherwise, I was going to be like, yeah, this ruins it for me. But I mean, that was kind of going off into a tangent, Madison, but I just think there's this huge part of like understanding that yes, we deserve as women orgasms and a great sexual life, but we also deserve the other pleasures in life because they all connect. And when we have multiple types of pleasures, we will feel turned on in general, turned on to, life, turned on to our job, turned on to being a mother, turned on to sex and intimacy. So, what is something that you wish more moms knew as you've gone through this, or more women business owners have gone through? What would your biggest lesson or advice?
I would say just being confident and like owning who you are and making sure that you make time to invest in yourself to make yourself the best version of you. Because if you can't be the best version of you, we can't lead our teams. We can't lead our children. We can't be wives if we are not the best versions of ourselves. So making sure that we are feeling good mentally, physically, emotionally, that's going to pour into so many different people that we have to support. Because as business owners, we impact a lot of people. So it's really important that we are on our A game as much as we can be. We're human and we are going to fall off. We are going to make mistakes and we are going to go through hard seasons. But at the end of the day, like we have to be able to have our system or our schedule in place to where we feel supported in the home and in our business and, personally and professionally. And for me, like I recently hired a house manager. She started yesterday. I came home and like the fact that all my laundry was done and the fridge was organized and clean, I was like, and then like Noah's room was I was like, oh my gosh, wow. Like I just walked into a house that's like completely put together and ready for me after I just had a really hard day at work. And like that one little thing of having somebody in place to do that for me will make a huge impact for me mentally. Because I'll be able to go home and actually relax instead of having to go home and like, I got to do laundry. I got to pack lunches. I got to pick out clothes for tomorrow, So like having just one little thing like that in place for us, or maybe it's having a coach that you can voice message all day, or call. Like having that person that you can lean on that's not going to sway you one way or the other is literally just there to support you professionally and personally. That's not like your husband or your sister or your best friend. That's like a paid for person there to support you is like another huge benefit. Something that I'm a huge advocate in investing into.
Absolutely. So what I took away from there is be unapologetically yourself, because when you're unapologetically yourself, you're going to be confident. Surround yourself with the support systems that allow you to be unapologetically yourself, and so that you can do the things you want. And also, I think I heard this, if not, I know you feel this, is that, the good old T Swift says, your energy is a luxury and not everybody can afford it. And I nothing has clicked better for me since she said that, because I think it's so true, is that we don't have to starve ourselves or of the things that we want or bend over backwards for the people that we don't want to, right? I think that something that you've told me before is like, you don't have to keep clients you don't want. That's a great thing. You've learned that you don't have to keep clients that aren't going to work for you, because guess what? They're going to suck the energy out of you, and you don't need that, right? We don't need that in our life. And I think that's amazing. And I think, talking about confidence and energy and systems in place, your business is literally setting people up in other businesses to show that. Like, you guys are amazing at helping people feel like, no, I am the boss. I am going to own this. I mean, can you tell a little bit before we wrap up of like going into like a photo shoot with somebody or helping them with their social media plan? Like, how do you help build up their confidence and their energy and get systems in place so that they can, do what we were just talking about?
My team is so good at this. Like, we'll have clients that come to us and they'll just be really nervous and say, I'm not good in front of the camera. But like when you are in person with my team, and you've experienced this, our photographer, our videographer, like whoever's on set to shoot content, they do nothing but pour into our business owners about how amazing they look. And like, they might not feel confident when they get started, but by the end of it, they're going to feel really good. And they're going to be like, wow, like that wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And we can sit there, we can say, we can pick somebody's social media apart, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we tell them what they are doing a good job at and what is working for them. Because yes, they obviously are coming to an expert because they want help. So there are things that we can implement and fix and make look better. But you are doing something to a good level if you're at a point where you can hire somebody like us. So I think it's just important to speak into people positively and uplift them, and be good stewards.
I think that just applies to life in general. I mean, it's amazing that you applied that into your business, but I feel like applying that to your life, remind yourself that you are doing something good. Remind the people around you are doing something good, even if there's things that you're working on or trying to better, because you deserve to hear that. They deserve to hear that. Let's just bring back that kindness in human nature, right? I want to thank you, Madison, for being on here and being vulnerable, talking about, the challenges of starting a business while having a daughter, going through the personal trauma that you did until you completed your family, going back to work and, really hustling for a business that is now exploding and absolutely incredible and doing such great things to, refinding yourself and still continuing that journey and enjoying the sexiness of your own body and allowing yourself the pleasures in life and in the bedroom. So thank you so much for opening up and talking about that. I know this is really going to resonate with a lot of our listeners. Remind yourself, guys, that you deserve the pleasure in life. You deserve to have the systems around you that help you be unapologetically yourself. And you deserve to have the people in your life that enjoy and understand the luxury of your energy. So here on Vaginally Speaking, remember that we are here to talk about the unfiltered taboo stuff. If this hit with you guys, please pass it on to a bestie, a sister, a mom, anyone that you think would benefit from it. As always, love and lube. Thanks, guys.